So how's it going today, Bob?
Going good, going good.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
a little exercise in, cold outside, so all bundled up, staying staying warm. I'm sure you're having the same kind of cold weather that we're having.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I saw your Facebook Live or whatever it was. Were you snow blowing? You know, that was good. That was good. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
got to keep the neighborhood clear.
yeah, absolutely. So I
Help the
have to
neighbors
say,
out.
I have been a huge fan of your work for so long. I'd love to get to know a little bit more about you. Like, how did you get started in photography?
Thanks. It's mutual. I know we always run into each other at trade shows, and it's a little seems to be a little bit transient because we're always busy and passing. You're going in one direction, I'm going in another direction. So it's nice to actually sit and have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
So I've been lucky, truly blessed in life that this is all I've ever done. So I'd like to say I've never worked a day in my life, although
oh,
that's not true. Anybody that owns their own business knows you never work harder than when you own your own business because it's 24/7 and you're always concerned about when's that phone going to ring and taking
sure.
care of your clients and making sure you provide everybody with a really positive experience.
Yeah. Well,
So
my
I've been
favorite
at this since
saying
high school.
Yeah, my favorite saying for that is like everyone's willing to work 80 or 100 hours a week so they don't have to work 40. You
It's
know?
true. Some days we think about it like, oh, wouldn't it be nice, you know, get the benefits. That's a huge thing, get your benefits and, leave the business after 40 hours a week. But there's so much upside to, working the hours you want, spending time with family, getting
Mhm.
that balance and the pride that you take in owning your own business. So
Sure.
it's not the right fit for everybody, but it's been the right fit for Dawn and I and our family.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So did you go to school for photography or did you pick it up or?
I I picked it up in high school. It goes back to that cliche, that magic of the first time you make a print in a dark room and you're seeing it come up in the chemicals. It
Yeah,
it truly is a magical feeling, unlike digital where everything is instant. There's something so magical and tactile about developing film and making a print in a wet dark room. And
yeah,
from that point on, I was hooked. And my high school photography counselor said, you can make a living at this. I'm like, really? How? And she started outlining different things. And I've always read the newspapers as a kid. So that was my first love and still is visual storytelling.
yeah.
So I was a photojournalist at the Chicago Sun-Times for 15 years,
Oh, wow.
in photojournalism for over 20. So it's the best training ground ever because you have to walk into any given assignment, find rapport with people, make a publishable photograph.
Yeah.
Bob Katalik, the chief photographer who hired me at the Chicago Sun-Times, he gave me my first assignment, and it was to photograph jockey Pat Day. And he's like, kid, come back with a good assignment or don't come back at all. We can't publish an excuse. And he meant it, right?
Wow.
Yeah, part of my interview when I went to the paper was like, I got my portfolio, printed everything by hand, really well done. I walked in and he's like, yeah, I don't want to see that. I want you to go home, come back tomorrow. I want you to bring me your contact sheets.
Ah,
Like,
there you go.
contact sheets? Why? Right? Because he wants to see and learn. And he told me this. I want to see how you work a situation. I want to see that you can shoot a variety of photographs on a roll of film versus anybody could walk in here and show me 20 good pictures in a portfolio.
Yeah.
And the same holds true today with couples when we're, what we do whenever a client hires us, we're always being on a job interview. So they come to you because they're attracted to our social media. They see weddings on Facebook, things that we post, and Dawn posts a lot on our Facebook page. But then I'll say to them, hey, look, don't just look at our work. Here's an entire wedding. And when you go out and look at other photographers, look at an entire wedding. You
Mhm.
don't want to see the 4, 5, 6 highlight cinematic photographs from a wedding, but you want to see how they handle the detail shots, how they handle the family formals, how they handle the things that aren't very exciting and sexy.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, how did you go from working in the newspaper to being like one of the top wedding photographers?
Burned out on bad news.
Oh, okay.
Make a long story short, I've always done weddings for friends, family, editors, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then in 2004, it just came to a point where, and truly, the news hasn't changed much, meaning what they choose to report. Had an editor who always said, if it bleeds, it leads. And I was good at, for whatever reason, of getting rapport with people. And one of the last assignments that I photographed was this nightclub incident in Chicago where it was the E2 nightclub. I think there was 6 or 8 people got crushed at an exit door. There was a fire
Oh,
in this nightclub, but it was an after hours club and all the doors were locked with chains. So people got crushed at the door and they broke through the door. And I covered that from start to finish. And, you know, I said to my editor, I'm like, I don't want to cover any more death. We have other people that are younger than me that are hungry for that. I've been there, done that. I don't want to do it. And they're like, nope, you're going to do this assignment. And I would never refuse an assignment because that's your job.
mm-hmm.
So I did the story. Again, a family welcomes me into their home. I'm going with the family. They're picking out caskets. And one of the last photos that I took that was published was the little boy looking at his dad in the casket. They welcomed me into the funeral home to photograph all this.
Oh.
And I went back to the editor and said, I'm done. I said to you, one more dead person story, I'm out. And this was it. And that was around Christmas time in 2003. So that week I turned in my notice. And weddings are just a natural progression for visual storytelling. And so it was the easiest road to enter, meaning wedding photography truly does have the lowest barrier to entry because you're, in many respects, not dealing with an educated buyer. And what I mean by that is I freelance for Time, Newsweek, Sports Illustrated, and you're dealing with photo editors then. They're very educated. So they're going to, you know, really go through your work. They're really going to know that you can deliver. Where brides and wedding and portrait people, they're going on emotion and off of their friends' recommendations. So it's a different thing. So it was a very easy way to progress into. And the credibility that we had from newspaper and editorial and magazines, you know, just really opened many doors for us to build our business upon.
Oh, that's awesome. So I know we were talking a little bit before, and you're talking about, there's 2 things I want to talk about. You're talking about charging enough to make a living. How did you guys decide about, you know, you're going to be at the higher level, or how did that kind of work out? Because I know a lot of photographers struggle with, you know, they're an artist like you want to create beautiful photos. You probably do it for free, but you have to pay the bills. So
Very true. Yeah, no, excellent question. And I owe it all to my wife and business partner, Dawn Davis. She's the reason we have a good life because I would do it for free. Although that's not good, you know, because you need to make a living, you need to have a sustainable business, you need to be able to, you know, pay yourself, pay your home, pay people that work for you. So right away, Dawn was smart and she said, look, here's the clientele, here's our customer, here's the market we want to be at, here's the rates we want to charge. The first WPPI we went to was in 2004, you know, and we set goals. We didn't go there to have fun. We wanted to meet Joe Busing, Dennis Reggie, Gary Fong, those guys, and see, how are you guys industry leaders? You know, how are you running sustainable businesses? And that's what we asked. We asked those questions. What are your rates? How are you marketing? And that was all pre-Facebook and things of that nature.
wow.
And one of the things we took away with was every one of them wrote down who their ideal client was. Where did they shop? What was their brands? Where did they live? And like, oh, that resonated with Dawn. You know, these brands like Starbucks and Bentley and Macy's, and what do they all have in common? You know, they know their customer, they know where they're at. You know, it's like Starbucks is a great example. It's Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's were around forever. Along comes Starbucks, which provides a good experience. And at first, people were going to say, who's going to pay $3 for a cup of coffee? Right? But it became wildly successful because of the experience, the quality, the customer interaction that, you know, the other markets weren't providing. Not that they're not good, they are good markets, but there's a customer base for everything. So we wanted to be aligned with that higher end clientele. So again, we could work smarter and not harder. Right out of the gate, we knew we wanted to be low volume and only do 20, 25 events a year
Yeah.
so that we could devote more to quality and customer service.
Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of photographers, like our studio used to do like 250 weddings a year. I was shooting 80, 90 weddings and you just get tired.
You
And
get
you don't have
tired.
the energy, you don't have the drive for it. So you're very smart on doing that. That's amazing.
I'd like to, take all the credit for that, but that part is all Dawn. She was much smarter because she has this ability with left brain, right brain. She used to be an accountant, so her attention to detail
Oh,
is phenomenal. And she wanted every wedding to be at the top level that we were capable of doing, both on the front end of photographing it, lighting it, capturing the moments, to the back end, to the customer experience throughout. So, of course, when you're running just two of us, that takes time. And
sure.
sure, we work with a pool of second shooters, people that we've mentored and that work with us. All of the client interaction is through Dawn or I. So that takes a level of energy, that we wanted to provide. So we, couldn't do the volume and sustain that level.
Sure, exactly. And the other thing you mentioned was your lighting. Your lighting is just spectacular. How did you develop that? Is that from when you're a photojournalistic photographer? Did you learn that, or how did you learn your lighting techniques, or what drives you, or what inspires you to keep learning?
Well, light is light, right? We can't practice the craft of photography without light. So early on, from one of my mentors at the Chicago Sun-Times, John H. White, he was always about looking at the light, seeing light, get yourself in the position of the light, let the moments unfold. I mean, it goes back to Sam Abel, a famous National Geographic photographer, who always used to say, compose the picture and wait for the moment, right? So you set yourself up for success, and then you start learning more and more from that. And then it evolved with lighting. So back at the paper, this was pre-ETTL, pre-wireless control of anything. But I would still go around with 283, 285 Vivitar flashes. And the only way to light things was either with an optical slave or a 50-foot long PC sync cable. But I started to do lighting of press conferences, and things evolved from there, because that's part of being a photojournalist. Every time a politician makes a statement, there was always press conferences at City Hall. The lighting was terrible because they never lit them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're printing your own stuff, you're doing a lot of dodging and burning. And back then you're taking the bleach and you're bleaching in the eyes to get rid of the raccoon eyes.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I learned right away, man, pop one off camera flash on a little light stand with a 50-foot sync cord. And all of a sudden, boom, it was easier to print.
And that's all
And
film too, so you had no
that's all
idea.
film. Yeah.
So you had to get
Yeah.
it right.
You
Wow.
had to get it right. And so that natural progression just continued as technology evolves. We
Mm-hmm.
got the off-camera flash when they first came out with the wireless optical communication. I was like, blow my mind. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But we were limited to line of sight. Then radio popper came along. That was amazing because now you could control different groups. So you could do 3-point lighting, mix manual and TTL, and things continue to get easier and easier. And now we have TTL in strobes and high-speed sync and rear curtain sync. So there is no excuse. You could produce
Mm-hmm.
amazing lighting anywhere. It's just first, see the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Know the picture you want to take before you go out. Prepare for it, anticipate those moments, and then execute on that. But you also have to be flexible in those situations, especially with event photography, that when something changes, you can't say, oh, well, my light's over here. Now I got to run over here, and now I'm shooting available light again. No, you grab one light on a light stand and you run over there with it, and you complement the available light.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I have a question for you then. For all the new cameras with the high ISO, and people are thinking that's all they need, what's your views on that?
I mean, there's a time and a place for that. The cameras today are just about capable of photographing in total darkness. But is it good light? All the time? No. Sometimes, yes. I'll photograph in available light if we have good light. Our goal is to capture our clients both figuratively and metaphorically in their best possible light. right? Especially for portraits and events. Oftentimes we're commissioned to photograph at noon and the light's not good. No, I want to photograph in golden hour. Well, it's not there. So you have to create it. You have to complement it. Many
Mm-hmm.
times, we have to do an engagement session and it's overcast and cloudy. So what do? Well, you pop an off-camera flash with a quarter cut CTO warming gel on it, and studying light, you could emulate what late afternoon light looks like and the directionality it comes from. And then
Mm-hmm.
you add that sparkle, you add that complement. And
Sure.
sure, it helps tremendously on the back end as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. And actually, I saw you do a post the other day of you're an available light photographer. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Well, of course, I'm an available light photographer, and my speed light or flash is always available to me anytime I need help, right?
I love that. Yes.
But you got to make that decision. Do you need it or not? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So we have the couple places that couples love to be photographed in Chicago. One of them is this lily pond. And, of course, your clients are always in the same sphere of people, circle of friends, that kind of thing. One girl gets married, she tells her friends, which is awesome, and they want to hire you. But I like that lily pond shot you did of them in the springtime. It was gorgeous. And it was sunset. I want to do that. I want to do that. I'm like, okay, well, we could go there. Of course, we're not going to shoot the exact same photo because it's you, your energy, and it's different. And then
Mm-hmm.
you happen to be there and it's a cloudy, overcast, gray day. And they're like, oh, I don't have that pretty light. What are we going to do? That's when you're like, hey, don't worry, I got this. Couple speed lights, little warming gels, boom.
Mm-hmm.
You're complementing the light, right? You're taking the light that's available, then you're adding in that warmth and sparkle, use the power of the ISO, and you're in business. But it's just taking a moment or two to see the photograph first, to be that constant seeker of light, see what natural light is doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the most important thing is practice it ahead of time so that when you do get it on an assignment, you're not taking a lot of time to set up your lights. It's second nature. You know where you're going to go. You know your starting ISOs. You know your starting points. Like, what if ETTL isn't working, right? For whatever reason, I find that high-speed sync could be fuzzy logic at times and not always be accurate. So many times I want full power from the flashes. So I know at 200 ISO, at 10 feet, my flash in full manual is always going to give me F11, right? Given, done, always. So then all I got to do is adjust my shutter speed. So if I'm at 200 ISO at 250 sync speed at F11, well, I'm still going to be able to light the subject and still get tonality in the sky. Same light, same exposure. The sun is always the sun. If there's no clouds in the sky, that's always the same. So you don't have to figure these things out all the time. You could write down your starting points and their go-to. Well, if it's cloudy and flat, well, I know I got to up my ISO, but I don't need full power on the flash then. It works much easier. Small light works easier with overcast days. So these things become your foundation for lighting, and they're the same all the time.
See, that's awesome. You have a system for everything. I love that. So actually, do you ever teach or anything, or do you have any classes available, or like, if someone like, I love what you're saying.
Oh,
How can
thanks.
people,
Thank you.
how can people learn what you're doing? What type of seminars do you do? Or
Yeah, well, we did a bunch live when we were meeting live at all the conventions, WPPI, PPA. Now that we're more virtual, we're proud to be a member of Kelby One. So Kelby is hosting all of our off-camera flash and lighting classes for both every scenario. And it's not pigeonholed. This isn't wedding lighting. I like when some people say, well, you're a wedding photographer, that's wedding lighting. Now, lighting is lighting. You use it for portraits. You use it for, I do wildlife for fun. That's my passion. And I photographed snow monkeys in Japan, and light was terrible. And they have these big brows and you can't see their eyes. Well, you take the little plastic shoe, little warming gel, you put it on the rock on the side. Now you got some side light coming in. I posted a portrait on Instagram the other day of these two monkeys hugging, and that was totally lit. Looks like late afternoon sunlight coming in. But that's all it takes is that little kiss of light. And it's very easy to do. So if you want to find out more, check us out over at Kelby One.
that's perfect. And do you ever do like mentorships or anything, like one-on-ones?
We do. We do Zoom consulting for, especially now with all the newer cameras to set them up. They're so customizable. So
Yeah.
one-on-one for setting up your cameras, one-on-one for lighting, one-on-one for design, marketing. Dawn does them for post-production and editing. So we do.
Wow.
We offer that, and you could reach us either at our email, bob@bobanddawndavis.com, or through Facebook or any of our other social media
So,
platforms.
so that's actually amazing. Someone can have you one-on-one, helping you learn. That's amazing.
It is, and it's been a great thing, especially what we're doing right now, Zoom. So I could set up multiple cameras in this space, and we could say, so what are you struggling with? Oh, I struggle a lot of times it's TTL and high speed sync. I'm like, well, we can emulate that right here. And on your end, I want you to set up your lights and we're going to walk through it together. And it sinks in, it reaffirms what they're doing much more concrete than if you say, do this setting, do that setting. But if you actually walk through it together, it reinforces it.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. That's cool. Oh, did you freeze?
Did I lose you?
Oh, there we go.
We
We're
froze
back.
up for a
We're
second.
back. Well, you know what?
That's
I
all
have
right.
to say this is absolutely awesome. Oh, there we go. Internet connection's unstable. But I want to say, you know what? This is absolutely awesome. I appreciate your time. So
Well, thanks, Dan.
thank you so, so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. There you go. That was awesome, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did I answer or ask questions okay to
Yeah, you did
help?
great.
Oh, good. Okay.
You got this going.
Yeah, I've been
You're gonna be
practicing.
hosting your own show. You're gonna get the desk mic, you know, do a little, hey, look at all these TV shows, Jimmy Kimmel and all those guys can do them from home. You can do anything now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What I did, it's funny when I watch people do interviews, you get a good person who like, they only worry about you. And other ones are like, oh, well, me. Like I hate going to seminars and, or teaching a seminar and you get one student that's like, they're eating up whatever you're saying. And then, I always tell people, learn what I do and then make it your own.
Exactly.
And then you get the other people like, well, I do it this way. Well, that's okay. Just be open.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many of these Facebook ads I've been seeing now. Let me to six figures, in 6 weeks and generate all these leads for you. I'm like, but then you go to their website and they're not really shooting.
Right.
They're in the business of marketing. So that's a challenge too. If someone's, like you said earlier, trying to market you something, go look at their work, see how transparent they are, see if they really are working. And I think that's what this pandemic has done, is it's shaken things up so much that, the cream is kind of rising to the top, meaning it's the people doing it for real.
Yeah, I love that. I get a lot of my competition falling off left and right. They're not good competition, but they are competition.
Right, of course. Again, it goes back to in our arenas, we deal with uneducated buyers.
Yes.
And they go off of emotion. And a lot of times it's price. We lose a lot of clients. I shouldn't say a lot, but people that truly aren't. Now, this guy, that you're $10,000 a day, 2 photographers, 12 hours, and a fine art book and a download. Well, this photographer down the street, it will do it for $8,000, and they'll give me 3 parent books and a slideshow and all this. I'm like, well, then great, then go with them, But then when you look at their work, it's the only thing they do is like 4 or 5 really nice portrait photos.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just cataloged and available light. So there's a real inconsistency in the level of the work. So
Exactly.
what you're saying to me then is photography is not the most important thing to you. If it is, then you'd be our client and then we'd find a common ground to work together.
Yeah. Well, my favorite story for that was before, like 3 or 4 years ago, I was getting between 6 and 8, 6 and 9, give or take, per wedding. And someone came in and the bride booked me for, I think, $7,000. I was happy. She went home, told her fiance, and he X'd it. He, fired me instantly and whatever.
Wow.
But my favorite part of the story is like they're getting married at this castle. Remember that castle picture I had in my thing? They were getting married there. And so they hired this photographer really cheap, and they're going to do first look. And, and the bride's like, what do we do? And she's like, Oh, just do what you're doing. Go ahead, you're fine. So they walk up together on the bridge and go, hi, how, really blah. Wasn't building up the excitement, wasn't getting them
Right.
interacting. And then the photographer's looking around going, there's no place to photograph. And you're at this amazing castle.
Sure.
Right? And then the bride turned to the videographer and said, "Say, Tom, what would you do?" "Well, I work with Dan all the time. Dan would do this, this, this." And the groom just dropped his head, And then she sent me, like, they saved like the most expensive whatever money it was because they did not get the images they want.
Right.
And that's why I lose all the time.
No, it's true. That happens to us. At the end of it all, it's really nice when you get a good circle of vendors who can do this for you. Meaning, look, you're on this journey with, let's say, the florist, and you're spending all this money on the flowers. But at the end of it, all you have are your memories and your photographs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you get them to reinforce what you're saying, it's so helpful, because then it's not always coming from you.
So I want to tell you my most negative wedding, what made me stop weddings. I still get some weddings to photograph, and I'm taking select weddings. I'm going to be like you. I want to start, I'm going to start around 5, and then go up from there. I'm not going to do like the smaller weddings and whatever. But they hired me through a package, like I said, $1,900 for the wedding day, 6 hours, really bad. I showed up and it was pouring out, and the bride's like, "Can you talk to the coordinator about doing the ceremony in a different room?" I'm like, "Well, actually, that's up to them. I mean,
right.
I'll pass along the message." So I went to the coordinator, told her. She's like, "Well, you shouldn't be involved." I'm like, "I know."
Exactly. Not trying to overstep.
Yeah. So she went over there and she's talking to the bride, and the bride's like, really sweet. The coordinator walked away. She's like, "I fucking told you to talk to her," and it went downhill from that point on.
Yeah.
So then we're in the ceremony area where we wanted to do it. I'm like, "Well, how many people do we have?" "There's only like 20 people. I'm like, "Why don't we just have everyone stand? That way they don't have to move everything." Beautiful window light coming in from behind them. And
nice.
It'll be beautiful glow coming in, and just fill it in a little bit, to get what you need. And she's like, "Yeah, you don't know anything about lighting. You don't know anything about photography." All right.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Okay." And then her maid of honor was a wedding photographer. All right. And she's telling me about it. I'm like, "Great, she can help me out." I said, "We might have different styles or anything, but it's all good." I mean, she knows my pleasure.
Sure.
And then everything I did, like getting ready, "You're doing that wrong. You're doing that wrong. You're doing that wrong."
Oh, no.
Not even like there's a different way of doing it. I'm like, "Well, I have my style and you have your style." So after about a half hour of wrong, I pulled her aside. I said, "All right, how many weddings have you photographed?" She goes, "Well, almost one."
Almost one. There you go.
Yeah. And I'm like, "All right, this is what I can't do that."
It is a shame that the barrier to entry is so low, because of stuff like that. And weddings are people's most important days, and it's a lifetime of memories that you're going to have. And it saddens me when people will cut corners on their photographs and their memories, because at the end, that's all there's left. You'll pick a great venue, you'll spend money on food and beverage, but it's your memories, man. It's your memories. And Dawn will have this time and time again where couples that didn't book with us, like the experience you had, they'll come back and ask her to design the book, with someone else's work. And we're like, nah,
Yeah, of course you can't.
You can't try and polish a turd now, I mean, you're going to come back with these mediocre photographs and you're hoping she's going to tone them and edit them and make this gorgeous design from them. It doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Yeah. Or if she could do it, it would probably take her 10 times longer than she would have normally.
Of course. We actually had something similar happen. We did, I'm not trying to boast or anything, but we did Eva Longoria and Tony Parker's wedding in Paris. It was a 7-day shoot. It was amazing. So 6 years later, they get divorced. She's remarrying, hired another photographer, didn't want anybody from the first wedding, bad mojo, whatever. But again, she came to Dawn to design the book because she loved the book. And, same thing, no, because the quality of the photographs, they were all done available light. And so they would have had to have been mega retouching and layering because they have challenges. And so Dawn was like, "Yeah, no, I can't do it." It's too much work. Just too much work.
Yeah, I know. That's sad. That's sad. You know,
Yeah, you know,
I know. It's
it was someone that came with the venue. They got married in
no,
some
really.
um the Breakers. Where's that? Miami. I've never been there, but they have a photographer that routinely works there, and they hired this woman photographer, and she's done quite a few celebrities, but she's no off-camera flash. You know, you could look up Sofia Vergara's photos; they're
Yeah.
online. She's an actress. She was in Modern Family.
What's your
They
last name?
are Sofia Vergara
Okay, yeah.
and Joe. Joe, his last name begins with an M. They're horrendous. I mean, truly horrendous. But she's the house photographer for the Breakers.
Yeah, I just don't get that. But the worst thing is, like, I'll work at the Four Seasons in Boston or the bigger places, and I'll walk in, they go, "Oh, thank God you're here. We've had so many people that don't know how to, do the weddings,
Yeah,
And my most basic thing is like, Dan, you have a half an hour to do the portraits. Okay, I'll be done in
right?
25 minutes, you know?
Yeah,
Then I'll take them to play and do special stuff. Or I'll go do a night shot, bring them outside. And I'm like, depending on where it is, like one place I work, like the castle, I said, I'll be back in 2 minutes. And the DJ or band's like, yeah, right. You'll be out there for 45 minutes doing it. I'm like, nope, my lights are all set up. They just have to
right.
walk out. I go click, click, and we're done.
Exactly.
You know?
Do it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Have your assistant stand in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the facilities don't recommend us out, or I just don't get it.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Yep. I know the feeling. It's like even some of our local event planners, we've done, and this is what I don't understand is like there's event planners are the gatekeeper to the bigger events and venues, the bigger budgets. And we've worked with them all here in Chicago, and we've done their biggest and best events, yet we still have to continually market to them to get them to refer us out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why is that so hard with event planners? There's an ego thing there or something,
Yeah.
and I don't get it. I don't know.
Well, the only one that really worked out well for us, we had the stateroom in Boston. It's like something on the 33rd floor. It's got these, looks like 2 to 3 story windows that overlooks Boston Harbor. So we got a package there. But my package is, I think, like $6,000, includes an album, right? Which is great. Everything's all taking place there. That was good. They would call me up and say, Dan, we have a problem. What's that? We have a problem with the budget. All right, what can we do? Well, they have a $10,000 budget. What can you throw in? That's when we started doing photo booths and
Sure.
all that stuff. Because I would charge. Well, they would give me 10, and they would charge the client 15 or 20 for that. So
that works.
Oh yeah, it was. I love that.
Yeah. No,
I'm not gonna say who it is, but I worked with a big wedding coordinator around here, and he paid me, I think, $5,000 for the day. I was happy. That's my rate. He charged the bride $15,000 for me. So the bride calls back and said, "What do I get for my $15,000?" And
yeah, right. Then you're like, wow.
yeah. That was interesting.
Yes.
I know we didn't talk about money. I'm not going to tell her what they paid or I got paid. But I'm like, well, you kind of went through this person. You have to, what
back to them.
You? I'm like, eh.
No. You paid him. Yeah.
Exactly.
He's my client. Yeah. It's never ending. Yeah. I hope I'm 58. Weddings are a long, hard day, especially rolling in with all the backup gear, lighting, and things of that nature.
Oh, I think I lost you. Hello. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Oh, frozen.
Yeah, you're all frozen. Yeah. So, I want to say thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Dan.
That was a pleasure. I know we said about an hour, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No problem.
I love talking to you.